Lots of analysis, as we've been saying tonight. Our own Don Carrigan joins us at the desk with a little bit more analysis.
Specifically, voter turnout. That was expected to be pretty big this year.
Yeah, voter turnout is huge, right, in any election, because that has a big role in deciding which side is going to win. GOTV, the insiders call it, get out the vote. That's what drives voter turnout, to get people actually to the polls. Maine, as you probably know, has a huge reputation for being among the very highest voter turnouts in the country. Year after year, it's kind of Maine and Minnesota back and forth. 2022, Maine had the highest voter turnout in the country for a non-presidential election, and that was like 61%. 2020, we had over 70% voter turnout, and we're second only to Minnesota. Now, there's a couple things that would drive voter turnout. One, of course, is the work of the parties, to get in touch with all of the registered voters of their party that they know about and try to push them through phone calls, through emails, everything to get them to the polls. The other is getting people to vote early, and Maine this year, guys, about 38% of Maine voters voted before today through absentees or actual early voting that they can do at some polling places. So that gives you more than a third of the vote already in before Election Day arrives. And the Republicans, who in some past elections had not been big boosters of early voting, this year nationally we're doing a lot, and in the state, to encourage early voting, and so to try to get their people to the polls. If you don't get them to the polls, you're not going to get their votes, right? So turnout drives it, and we hear that so far this year, polling places very busy. Again, if they got 38% even before today, wouldn't be surprising if we might hit another record turnout for the state, this time in a presidential.
Those early votes, though, does that change how quickly the results will come out? Are election officials allowed to start going through that ahead of time, or?
No, they're not allowed to count the votes.
Okay.
They can do what's called processing them, which means taking the envelope, looking at it, comparing it to the voter list, making sure that's all filled out right and yes, and checking that person off on the voter list, opening the envelope, smoothing out the folded ballot, and so that it'll go through the counting machines. They can do that processing. Remember, that's been an issue in a couple of other states that don't allow that until Election Day, which slows down the counting process.
To do all of that work the night of.
Yeah, and if you've got a heavy turnout besides, that makes it really, really tough. So they can process the ballots, but then during the day, they have people running them through the counting machines.
Okay, so that helps.
Yeah, so it's been a huge change in Maine. It's not that long that we've had actual early voting. We've always had absentee. Years ago, you may not remember, but years ago, you had to really have a good reason.
You had to prove why you wanted to.
Yeah,
I remember doing that.
Prove that you weren't going to be there, and certify, no, I won't be there. Now it's just, if I want to vote absentee, I do. And so they have absentee, you fill out the envelope, send it to the town office or drop it off. And then you also now actual early voting for several weeks before, where you can go in, have a little booth and vote.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we saw some pretty significant lines at polling places for people voting even today. So big turnout.
So that shows what we were talking about. GOTV, get out the vote. People are interested, especially because of the presidential race and some other particular races, CD2, for example. But you see that the parties have really been working hard, very hard, for weeks and months to push their people, remember to get out and vote today.
Well, and nice that this is a bipartisan effort. I mean, it's not one party saying we need to get people out of. This is something everybody agrees on, of whichever side you're on, get out and vote.
Right, right. And it is, of course, a competition,
right.
As elections are themselves, right? Whichever side gets more of their voters out probably is going to win.
All right. Don Carrigan, we always appreciate your analysis. We'll be checking in with you throughout the night.
All right, we'll be back.
Appreciate it, Don.